Have you ever wondered if you can make real income and growth from an S&P 500 ETF that you could actually retire on? Not just looking for income, not just looking for growth, but basically both growth and income together. Well, we believe we found that fun, and that is OVL. And we're going to break it down today and share with you the information that we have found, that we have researched to give you some insight of OVL. You probably have never even heard of the ETF before. Well, that's Doug the Retirement Guy with all your monthly ETFs, and we have found OVL that can help everyone in their portfolios for retirement. Let's get into today's video. We do have to do the disclaimer, and that is past performances don't guarantee your future results, and this information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not a licensed financial advisor. I am just one who's been studying this stuff for years. The example and suggestions discussed here are basically not suitable for all individual situations, so always contact a financial advisor before making financial decisions. Overlay Shares Large Cap Equity ETF, OVL. Now, when this one is not a real popular fund, okay, this is not something that is talked a lot about, but this one is going to be the potential for a game changer for a lot of retirement portfolios. The fund is actively managed and exposure to the large cap U.S. equities combined with a spread option overlay strategy. And I'll explain here shortly about how it and what it's using as its large cap U.S. equities and to generate its yield of 10.52%. And it's 0.37% SEC yield, 30-day yield. Now, this fund came out in September of 2019, so this is not something brand new. This fund has been out there for quite some time. The expense ratio of 0.79 is very low for what it's actually doing. So why has no one really heard of this? Well, this fund has $182 million in net assets. Like I said, the expense ratio is 0.79. Now, so far, it's paid 4.72% dividend yield. So it's growing to that, that yearly mark. And it now pays out monthly. So the price tag on this thing has gone from basically $38 all the way up to $55.10, which currently is the high point. It's the highest point it's ever been in the past 52 weeks. So a lot of people are starting to catch on to this. It's had a 3.53% year to date. Now remember, year to date is going to be January to April 17th as we film this. 3.53%. When we take a look at this over a 1 year results, they're showing a 36.26% growth. And you can look at that, and I call it the dome style bar, line chart. It starts at a low point and just goes up and hovers right around the top as a dome would. And it gives you that mark in that $52 to $54 price range as currently across the board. So very, very strong numbers right there. Now, here's where it really gets interesting. The net assets, what is the holdings of this? Now, it uses 99.47% U.S. country items. Then it goes to Switzerland, China, and the Netherlands. But look at what they do. This whole thing is built off of VOO, the S&P 500 ETF. 99.83% is invested on VOO, which is, everyone will tell you, that is the S&P 500 number. That's what we use to invest directly in the S&P 500. We don't look at that for income. We look at that one for growth. So now you've taken this OVL, or the overlay shares. They've invested their money into VOO, but then they started doing the put options, selling different put options to create income from VOO. So how is it really done? Well, this thing used to be quarterly, and now they changed to a monthly. And this is why it popped up on my screen, because normally I'm not paying attention much to monthlies, or excuse me, to quarterlies. But as soon as it went to monthly, it popped up on my screen, and it sounds too good to be true, so I ignored it. But when I started doing deeper research into this is when I really found the true hardcore pack to it. One, VOO, that they're using VOO and then selling put options, call options on VOO as the way the market's going. So we take a look at the dividends across the board, and you can see they've been paying about 30 cents quarterly. Well, then all of a sudden, basically in December, they made their final quarterly payment at 41 cents. January, they paid 47, February 46, March 44. So all their numbers have come, they're doing exactly what they were doing quarterly, now doing it monthly, which has made the major change. When we look at the performance chart, which will give you the full total return, okay, this is going to take the distributions and the growth, put them together to give you a better idea. Since inception, the fund was 16.77%. Over 5 years, it's 13.26%. So two very, very strong numbers in two very long periods of time, but when we're into over 5 years at 13%. Now, over the past year, you're showing a 43.21%. So the distribution didn't go up, but the growth came up dramatically. They were getting the growth out of it. Now we take a look at this, really is where we start tracking this as a monthly fund, and year to date, it's up 6.26% total return. 1 month, it's up 7.13%. So normally when we've seen this, where we've seen people go from monthly to a weekly, oh, it looks great on paper, the dividend wise, but they actually are only just paying the same amount, just doing it weekly, and we watch NAV erosion kick in. This one's done the opposite. It's not only paying what it used to pay quarterly, it is now paying it monthly. So that's like getting twice as much distributions. Okay, because if you're paying 40 cents in October and you get another 41 cents in December and you're getting 47 cents each and every month, it's getting 2 extra payments out of it. So that's going to help your income, but the growth factor is still there. So when we take a look at the year-to-date total return, 6.28%. Now that number, we've had some struggles with the S&P 500. So remember that. The underlying asset is the S&P 500 of VOO. And you can see at the beginning of the year, we were okay above the 0% line. And then we dropped below and we got down as low as 6%. Well, they've completely flipped that since the end of March, all of April. We're seeing April as the big kicker, and all of a sudden this thing is rocketing back up. Look what it's done for the 1 year. And this is where it really, the numbers just start blowing your mind a little bit, is it's done great every year. Yes, we've had this dip that you see now, and you see it a little portrayed in the year to date, but now you're seeing the rebound across the board to where it's really dramatically rebounding back up to where we're up to 43% for a total return. So it creates a fund that, buying right and buying at the proper time makes the thing worth work. And I think the March 30th was actually just a dip that we were dealing with because of the geopolitics that went along. So is this thing good for retirement? I think it's awesome for retirement. I think this is something that you take your VOO, which is normally a foundation fund, and switch it to this to go into a growth style fund because of the yield that you're getting and the growth that you're getting. Okay, you could put this in either category, income or growth. It'd be a conservative income portfolio because it's at 10%, but your growth is adding into it. I like it the best in a growth fund that if you don't need the yield, because you could take and cut the yield off and pour that into income, into your cash bucket. Or what you could do is take that 10% and buy more and more by dripping it back into the fund. If you did that, you'd be closer to this 43% category over the past 12 months. But year to date, like I said, 6.28. I like this one across the board easily. I like it better than VOO personally because VOO is designed for growth, and you're getting that here, but also adding in that little twist for income. That's why the underlying stock is so important to understand and review when you get involved into it. So with the overlying shares, large cap, tell me what you think. Is this a best kept secret that I was the only one who didn't know about it? Or did you not know about it and now it's interesting as well? Let me know either way. I'd love to hear your comments about OVO and tell me what you think of it and what you would do with it. And if you'd like, hit that like button above. That's the one that gives us the most help with the channel, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Press the